And he's got another interesting title which is really so relevant. He's a digital strategist, and very aptly with a background of an entrepreneur combined with somebody who has been from IBM, so he knows the length and breadth of technology leadership. I would welcome him to the podium and tell us about what he thinks the future lies in. Thank you.
Hi there, as I was introduced, my name's Vaughan Rivet, and I'm with Gentrack, yes, formerly organisations like the likes of IBM. I'm a digital futurist or a digital strategist, and what I wanted to tell you about today is a little bit of a story about how I believe we can be a challenger of choice in a disrupted utility sector. So thanks for coming along, and I hope that you find today's session inspiring. Sorry, I was told that this was a lunch and learn, so I've just got my McDonald's here. Very good. Anyone else? Very good. So what I'd like to share is a little bit of my journey. So this time last year I was up in Sydney at Utility Week, and I spoke there. And just before going to Utility Week, I had a chance to participate in what is New Zealand's largest cycle challenge. Now that cycle challenge is 160 kilometres long, and it's around our largest lake. So in the North Island of New Zealand, if you have a look at the map, it's like the centre of the country has kind of exploded. And literally, hundreds of years ago, it did explode. So our largest lake is actually a volcano. And as a result, we've got this beautiful lake where people like to go and kind of chill out, and one of our tourist hotspots. And so in this photo here, you can see that I certainly wasn't chilling out. I just want to tell you a little bit of a story about my journey. So what happened is last year I went into this race, and it took me 7.5 hours to complete the race. So if you saw me last year, I was probably walking around something like this, more of a cowboy style than anything. My bottom was sore after those 7.5 hours. Now here's an interesting thing. The elite cyclists were able to do this race in 3 hours and 40 minutes, averaging over 40 kilometres per hour. For me, I wasn't in it to win it, I was just in it to get to the end as a personal challenge. However, statistics and data got the best of me. I sat down with a few friends and we analysed the data that was publicly available. And what we found was that the elite cyclists and I had something in common. And that was that we were producing the same amount of power. Okay, so the same amount of power per kg of body weight. The problem I had was my body weight was a lot more than what they had. And hence, on the hills, I slowed down. So my challenge this year was to do something a bit different. My challenge was to lose the body weight so that I could move up the hills faster. Literally, during this race, we climbed 1,800 metres of climbing in this race. The first 90 Ks of it is hill after hill after hill. Straight into the race, less than a minute, you get to your first hill. So I did the race this year, and I managed to knock off 45 minutes from my time last year, which I thought was a great achievement. However, I still wasn't in the elite, because there's a slight problem, and that is that I still had the weight issue. But this year I really committed to my training, and I really looked at ways that I could fix things up a little bit. So, on top of cycling, this year I've done about 7,000 kilometres in training. I've also joined the gym. So I'm going to the gym, and I've also got myself a personal trainer. So a common day for me would look like this. I'd cycle to work for 25 kilometres, I get to work, I get changed, I go down to the gym, and I do some more cardio, like I didn't need that. After that I go back, I work, or sleep, I'm not sure which I do. But then in the afternoon, I cycle home, another 25 Ks, and I go back to the gym, and I do a weight session. In fact, I even got myself a personal trainer to keep me on track. And he said to me, look, you've got to pull back a little bit. You're doing a little bit too much exercise, and your body is not able to keep up. So I pulled back. So here I am this year, cycling around Lake Taupo. I'm one of the older guys, probably one of the larger guys. Take a look at this. I think this picture's great. See the look on that guy's face, that young guy there. Here I am coming up the back behind him, doing a final sprint as I come through to the very end. Now, one of the things that my trainer said to me is he said he wanted me to start using an application on my phone called Instagram. Anybody heard of Instagram? Yeah? Or Insta, as the cool, trendy young guys say. So I started using Instagram, and he said it would be really good if you shared your journey on social media, because it also helps to keep you accountable. So I started to share my journey. And the interesting thing was, a little later, he said to me, look, we have a little bit of a problem. I said, what's that? He said, it's the food that you're eating. I'm like, oh, you're going to be a joke? Okay, he's got a point. So he said to me, what I want you to do is I want you to take a photo and I want you to post it every time you eat a meal. So I'm like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So I took a photo and I started to post it on social media. But the challenging thing was, there was things I didn't want him to see. That 180 gram block of chocolate that I could demolish in one sitting, I didn't really want him to see that. Now, unfortunately, George is quite smart. And I think he picked up pretty quickly that something still wasn't right. And he would challenge me about that. So that was really cool. But as time's gone on, I've gone to realize a few things about this application called Instagram. Because I'm following sports people to try to give me ideas. And what I see is there's a trend going on which looks like this. Hashtag Insta versus real life. And you can see there, the gentleman on the left, he's dressed up, he's got a suit on, he's having his coffee, reading the paper. Life could not be any better for him. But in real life, things are completely the opposite. And as you can see there, he's probably had a rough life. He's probably had to call his utility company to talk about his electricity bill. He's probably now thinking about the fact that he's got restricted water and things aren't going quite so well for him. You see, there's this whole thing around real life and what we present on the outside. Look, this next picture is probably more accurately what I look like. Here she is, eating a healthy carrot. Here I am, or she is, eating a block of chocolate. So it got me thinking a little bit about what it means to be disruptive. What's this whole thing around disruption? And I was thinking about it and I was thinking, well, you know, we've got all of this flash technology now. We have IoT devices on our networks doing all sorts of things. We have people with wearable devices that they're wearing. We have the whole lot of stuff around big data and analytics, artificial intelligence, cognitive computing, all of those sorts of things. We're working on making our computers more empathetic so that they can actually relate to humans a lot better. All of these marvelous things that are happening with technology. But there's a problem, and it's Insta versus real life. Here's a photo here that I'd be quite proud to put on my Instagram post for George to see. But it wasn't real life. So I didn't achieve quite the goal I wanted to on the weight loss. But hey, my body's toned up and I'm looking a lot better. Thanks for all of you who are nodding right now. So I had another experience come up, and this experience happened to me around about 2 weeks ago. You see, I was with a telco provider for my internet connection. And I was with them for 17 years. I was a loyal customer. And I went through all sorts of stages of technology revolution with these guys, or evolution. So to start with, I had a dial-up 56K modem. And the service was great. And why it was great was this company was a small company that had around about 20 staff working for it. So whenever I rang up, they were responsive. They were in growth mode. They were in startup mode. Over time, they started to grow and the technology started to change. They brought out new technology called ADSL. Not too long after that, we had ADSL 2+. And then not long after that, we had VDSL. Boy, were things getting quick. Boy, was it changing my life. For 17 years, I stuck with these guys. They got sold, they got purchased, the government owned them for a while, and then sold them off. They grew quite quickly. They offshored their contact center. They onshored their contact center. They offshored their contact center. You know how it goes. Seems to be good one year, we change it the next. One owner will want to change it a little bit and do it a little bit differently perhaps. I went through all of those stages with them. However, something happened in my street this year. They laid glass in my street, glass that we know and call fibre. And the day that I saw them connecting another household up, I got onto it. I wanted to be one of the first people on my street. So I started to do some investigation. What kind of a deal could I get? And one of the young guys at work came up to me and he said, look Vaughan, what I suggest you do is you go with this particular telco, and if you do, and you give them my account number, I get 50% off the bill for 6 months. And so do you. I'm like, right, there's a deal right there. So I signed up. Now the onboarding process was absolutely brilliant. It was so easy for me to go and sign up. It was easy for me to be able to influence them as well, to actually getting it on a little bit faster. That was great, until the other day. The other day, we had a little bit of a problem. You see, my son was sitting there playing PlayStation, studying for exams, playing PlayStation, and it went down. And he yelled out, the internet's gone offline. Well, being that I have a background in telco and communications, I started to do some fault finding. And what I realized was that that little piece of glass going through that cable had been damaged. So I rang up my telco, who I hadn't spoken to, just like you said before about the water. You only hear when there's a problem. When I rang them up, it went like this. Hello? Hi, I've got a problem with my internet. Yes, how can we help? Well, it's not going. Oh dear, that's not good. Okay, let's start fault finding. Great. Have you paid your bill? He pushed the problem straight back onto me. Yes, I think I paid my bill. It's an automatic debit. It would have come out of my account. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, give me your account number. Okay. So I look up on my mobile phone. I'm in a restaurant by this stage. And I give him my account number. Okay, that's good. I'll get somebody to call you back tomorrow. Hang on a second. Can't you tell me what's going on here? You know, the interesting thing is this guy that I was speaking to did not even have access to their billing system. He didn't even have access to a CRM. All he could do was take a message for them to call back the next day. And what do you think happened the next day? There was no phone call. I had to chase them up again. You see, it's like that with our businesses too. It's Insta versus real life. We can have the best of the best marketing teams. We can have the best of the onboarding systems that we want to have. But at the end of the day, in that customer journey, as you look at your customer mapping, there are key points where the customer will want to get in touch with you. And it's really about what happens at that key point. Because it can take all of those great things and become a point where the customer may make a decision as to whether or not they're going to stay with you. The response from my wife on that day was, let's go somewhere else. I've got a little bit more patience. So what I'm getting at is when we're looking at our customer experience and we're looking at how do we be disruptive, we need to ensure that all of the digital strategies that we have are going to align with the customer expectation right throughout that process. We need to make sure that our employees are equipped with the right tools where they can make informed decisions and fix a problem for a customer the first time they call. We need to create a customer expectation that people can share. Revo did a survey a couple of years ago. The interesting thing that they found is customer reviews. Good customer reviews increase sales by up to 18%. Up to 18%. So it's very much reliant on what is that customer experience going through. So I want to leave this with you to consider. For your business, what does it look like? What is Insta versus real life? Thank you.